Hello everyone, number one Marmaduke fan here. Summa triggerum, summa spoilerum, summa tangentum. Final Fantasy Type-0 is one of the worst manga I have ever read. It pained me trying to slog through it. Felt like I was studying for an entrance exam for weeb school. I gave up trying to understand this about halfway through and just flipped through the art and looked at the pretty pictures. Even though I think the art by Takatoshi Shiozawa is pretty respectable, there are still weak moments of it, and the art was the highest selling point. This is so bad at conveyance. I I have to understand that I haven't played this game, which is probably one barrier to me, but I believe that a comic adaptation should be able to stand well on its own to make me interested in going to check out the characters and going to check out the game. This is so bad at communicating stuff to me that I spent the first half of the book thinking that these guys were part of the evil empire and not part of the good guy kingdom, the Dominion. And then I went back and tried to reread it more carefully, and it just, this isn't like Game of Thrones stuff with dozens of families and complicated histories. This is so bad at conveyance. This is not able to convey to you a generic evil empire versus plucky rebellion storyline. Just sad. Oh. So one thing I was thinking of while reading this is before I read it, I went and bought the digital edition on Google Play. And I don't know why Zach doesn't just try to buy his manga on Google Play, even if he likes Comixology, because you can zoom in on the laptop screen. I don't know. I would never want to read manga on my phone, and I don't know. Someone help me out. Can I read Comixology comics on my laptop? I'm woefully behind my technology for a millennial. But my point is that I bought the digital comic because I was going to make this super nice professional podcast where I'd, point out nice examples of art. But as I was reading this, I realized this has to be an iPod, an iPhone video, because Final Fantasy Type-0 is a manga that I just want to gently pat on the head and say, you tried. You still suck. Go to your room. No anime for a month. All right. So I actually kind of like that they don't have like blue and purple haired characters. It's mostly natural hair colored characters, but they all have the same face, and they do not have enough details to visually distinguish them. One of the vanities is the kids of Class 0 are named after playing cards. Some of them have names like Ace. Ace is the main character, or 7, 8, 9. And others will have like French or Spanish puns on words like Ducey or Kinsey, like Quince, right? So, and then there will be like Machina. So I don't know, is that like a Japanese pun on a playing card name or something? It's like they didn't commit to the bit of having every character's name be a playing card. And I was constantly flipping back to this, trying to understand who was who. I wish they'd put they have little examples of character art later at the end of the chapters. I wish they would have put that at the front, like the K-On! Manga did, because I referred back to the K-On! Manga's character sheet a lot to keep people straight. And this needed that. With such a large cast of characters with such strong visual similarities, they needed a layout of every character's name, which is shade upon the video game designer Tetsuya Nomura. I don't know if we're gonna lose color or the ability to select the character in the game, change their designs a bit so that we can have an easier time interpreting them in comic world. So this is when I did an unboxing video of a Loot anime box where I pulled this out and I flipped through a few pages and I made fun of it a bit, but I kind of made the point that, at least for me personally, manga has a better trust relationship than Western comics, because I can pick it up and flip it out and say, whoa, cool art, cool art, cool art. It's not like a Squirrel Girl comic. So there's a better risk-reward factor when I'm spending my money on a random manga, I don't know, than on a random Western comic, I don't know, where there's a much wider range in quality, from really bad Squirrel Girl, Master of Kung Fu, terrible, just not even worthwhile stories at all, to really good Western comics. Manga, I feel like it's a little bit more even, where even the bad manga has good stuff like this. Wow, I bookmarked a couple really sweet moments, but a few sweet moments do not make this a recommend. Not even for not even for $6. Confusing. Maybe if you like the video game a lot, you'll like this because you'll know who's who, and that'll help you keep things straight a little bit more. But as a comic, this is something I've disliked about anything with Final Fantasy on the name, is I kind of knew going in that if I wasn't already the biggest super duper fan of it, I wasn't going to get much out of it. Yeah, this is kind of a kick. The characters have the most general sketches of personalities. So 9 kind of has a tough guy personality, and he says yo, and he's got a scar. And Sace, well, I guess she's a tough action girl who hangs with the boys. And then Queen shows up, and she's sort of a no-nonsense girl who yells at both of them, and they both kind of go stand in the corner because she's got that sort of motherly command to her voice. And one of the things okay, so this was all like the text dump of here's the evil empire, and they're attacking the Dominion, and they're canceling out their magic, and it's it's the home of the white peristilium, and it's Operation Vermilion Bird. No. You can name drop a few like Vermilion Bird crystal names to me, but tell me what is going on and what's important to know, so that I can understand who's who in the beginning. And then this stuff. So even the way the art is conveyed doesn't help. So I'm trying to understand a franchise I don't know well. So I'm looking for visual cues to try to help me mentally separate evil empire people from the poor Dominion people who are getting crushed. And, this bad guy general says, okay, time to crush the Dominion forces. And then they see a ship, and then there's this big opening, and down comes Ace flying. So this is why I was confused. Is Ace like working for the evil empire, and he's going to go crush the Dominion forces for the evil empire? Or is he showing up to get them? And then he flies down, and this thing shows up, and I think, oh, it's so cool. It's like a giant Viking with a big old sword and a flaming bird horse steed. And this never shows up again. Is this a good guy thing? Is this a bad guy thing? I don't know. I don't understand what is going on. Help me understand, comic book artist. Convey these things to me. I don't know what video this was, but a while ago I talked about how I would much rather see one punch and understand what that punch is, to be able to feel that in my gut, the force of that punch, than to have like 500 super duper hyper mega speed force punches and not have any clue what is going on. And this entire manga, the fighting scenes are an example of fight scenes, I'm sorry, paced by someone who has never been in a fight, has probably spent most of their life in a basement watching anime and reading manga and drawing manga, and playing Japanese RPGs. And due to their artistic talent, can make stuff look really cool and really over the top and paint some really cool landscapes, but has no clue how to help me understand a battle or make the battle seem cool and strategic and get me invested in the fight as an interesting thing. It's mostly just magicians blasting magic at each other with their hands, and the faces are all kind of like that sort of generic, beautiful anime face, but the artist clearly has a weak time with hands and feet and does a lot of strategic coverings, or the girl holds his sword and there's like some weird stuff going on, like is that her torso or her back twisting around? So even its strongest aspect, the visuals over story and the visuals over kind of plotting and pacing and communicating ideas, even the visuals aren't weaker by the standards of some other manga I've seen. So I don't even want to talk about the rest of it. There might be a few other examples I could show of it just being roast-worthy and not explaining things that well to me. I think I touched on stuff. There's generic stuff, like kids whose mom died in front of them when they were little kids from the evil empire. There were some neat little moments with the soldiers, but I've mostly forgotten about them. Oh, that's ironic. Yeah, I've mostly forgotten about the good stuff in this comic, like how there's this really interesting idea that when your loved ones die, you instantly forget about them because the magic crystal they don't explain blesses people by helping them forget about lost loved ones so they can go on and move on in life. That's an interesting idea. Tell me a story about that. A world where everyone you love, when they die, you forget about them, and then I didn't understand. I only picked this up from just like a few scenes where they seemed to be hinting at that. Then when the scene came where the characters had a conversation about, in this world, when people die, you forget about them. They flat out said it. It's like they didn't do anything with that. That's so interesting. How do you do history? Does everyone on the planet forget about people when they die, or just the people in this little community? Is this like a religious thing? What? But then it's like they just forget about that for a long time and then go back to the weeby stuff, like a few little comedic moments, but not really any characterization. Just whatever. So I think it was about by the end of chapter 1 that I just gave up, and it starts saying, in the 80th year of the Aeon Genesis 3X42 year. That doesn't tell me anything. Tell me something. That's it. So do not buy this. This stinks. I'm just irritated by it. I'm just going to open up to one good page. Free advertisement for Unpopular the Movie, because I need a bookmark. So for all my atheist friends out there, if you feel like getting triggered today by a religious movie, you can go get triggered for free at theunpopularthemovie.com. So that was my bookmark. Anyway, so this is an example of something good out of this. This is my only moment of redeeming grace for this manga, or these kind of visually over-the-top cool action scenes where they're using brush marks and lots of explosion effects, and it looks cool. But again, you could dumb this down to they're pointing their hands at the bad guys, and they're using super fire magic to blow it up and make a cool bird shape. And this is the only moment I looked at pretty much for most of the book and said, wow, this was cool. Apart from that, I was just struggling to understand things that were going on, trying to get a feel for the characters and not feeling like there was much there. In my own mind, this is my own term for this, I've described these as kind of floaty stories where you sort of float from scene to scene and maybe introduce a few little interesting ideas, introduce a few little interesting character moments, but there's just not much there. They didn't tell me a story. So, all right. Yeah. I just can't recommend it. So, some adequate artistic moments where there was some cool drawing, but the weakest manga I have read in years by far. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. Go get triggered by Unpopular the Movie, guys. Summa triggerum, summa tangentum, summa spoilerum. I love you. Why don't you like, comment, and subscribe? I'll try to float some pictures in front of you so you can see kind of what I was talking about. I'll catch you later.